Hey everyone, so I wanted to make another video after, I realized this after posting some of my more recent videos, such as the Golem 11 Auto, the Wyvern 11 Auto, and some of the Guild Wars videos, um, because I realized that I should have probably listed or shown how my units are geared at the end of some of those, and I didn't. And some of them I did, but others I didn't. So I just wanted to make kind of like a comprehensive kind of video to show how I have geared my units, basically. If that sounds fun, and I might. Well, actually, I am going to turn it into a little bit of just like a unit review here, going over the units that I use most frequently, how I gear them, why I gear them that way, and where I use them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, yeah, sure. Let's just start with ML Tenebria then. Okay, so unit review. What do I think of her? I think she's really good. She's the only unit that I have ever fully plus 15 skill enhanced. This was done under a little bit of hype, like right after they buffed her, and people were saying that she was good. But I think she is really good, and I mean, after the buff, I think she definitely is. I use her in Guild Wars, pretty much every single Guild War, excuse me, and I use her like with Angelica and Rose, ML Tenebria on a team, and it's a really good counter to like tank teams, like Assassin, Cartuja teams, Violet teams, ML Ken teams. It also works really well if you like throw in Dizzy for Rose, because she can actually nuke ML Ken turn 2 right after Dizzy, or I guess turn 1 for all of your units. Right after Dizzy uses her S3, ML Tenebria can pretty much just nuke most ML Kens like without Death Break, just thanks to the Caladra and the 3 debuffs. So I mean, she's a single target nuker, and she has a lot of potential to do that. Definitely one of the better ones in the game. She's pretty unique as well. As far as how do you build her, I don't really know if I really like my build for her. Okay, so I think my build for her would be good if this was like a level 85 gear and gave her 60% attack instead, because I mean, it's fine, but I think her attack is just like too low. But I'm still farming a better gear like that. But I mean, she's still really good even with that. I don't think she really needs 170 speed in regards to my build, but it definitely helps. I think like 150 or 160 would be more than enough. But yeah, I would just build her pretty much exactly like this, except with like more attack, and maybe a little more HP too. But I'm gonna work on mine in the future. But she's really fun to use right now, and still really good. And the artifact, like, I mean, I really think Caladra is like the only way to go for her. Just because like her skill 3 synergizes with it so well. But yeah, I mean, actually, let me know if you think there's like a better one or one that competes. But I think it has to be Caladra for her, because it just makes her do even more damage on her skill 3, and lets her do just like insane things like nuke ML Ken turn 1 like with no defense break on him. Like if there's just 2 debuffs, she can pretty much nuke him, which is really nice. All right, moving on. Okay, Dizzy unit review. Okay, Dizzy. What do I think of her? No, okay. Well, seriously, she's obviously really good. I mean, just gonna be honest here, she's the only unit that, like, after they released her banner, and I didn't save any bookmarks, and, like, I didn't get her with, like, my 50 bookmarks, I was like, you know what, like, after reading her kit and just, like, looking at her, I think I'm gonna like spend some money and I bought like the I forget which pack it was. It was some $50 pack, and I like finished off her pity banner and got her, and it, oh man, it was definitely worth it because I use her all the time. She's really really good. I use her in arena, PvP arena, uh, almost every one of my teams, I think. And with violin for artifact, it's like free AoE strip. She just like she makes, especially like fighting Kayron. Like Kayron used to be a threat to my cleave, and after Dizzy, he's just a complete and utter joke. Like she just strips him and then kills him like it's nothing. And I mean that's just one like specific example, but she's really really good in PvP. Okay, PvP. She's really, really good in raids. I don't use her for Queen, but I use her for, like, Hell Raid afterward. Just because for Queen, she has too many debuffs. People even use her in Wyvern 11. I don't, because I, like, focus on a bursting speed team, but she's usable in Wyvern 11. And she's usable. I use her in Guild War. She's more than usable in Guild War. I use her in Guild War. Yeah, what am I saying? I don't use her like every single fight in Guild War. I use her in my like kind of tank ML Tenebria team, sometimes subbing her out for Rose depending on like who I'm fighting. Like if I think I need to outspeed someone, then I'll go with Dizzy. If it's like a tank team, then I'll go with Rose, where there's not really a threat of being outsped. Because Dizzy is like 217, which still is not very fast, but when I use her in Arena, she gets buffed by like Vildred and Schuri Imprint. In Guild War, she doesn't, but Rose is only like 180 or 190 speed, so, you know, she's really good. Like, I feel like I've talked enough about her, but yeah, if you have any like other questions of like what are good Guild Wars teams for her, what are good, like, just teams for her in general. I've used her a lot, and in Abyss, which I didn't even talk about, so let me know, but for the sake of time, we're going to move on. Okay, so Soul unit review. What do I think about Soul? I don't know, like, see, when Soul came out, like, on the collab, I just, like, didn't really care about him, because I knew he was, like, for Golem in PvE, but I could, like, already auto Golem 11, like, fine. Not, like, quickly, but I could do it. And so I just didn't really work on Soul, for a while, but I have worked on him lately, and he still has really bad gear, as you can see, but he's, like, wow, he really improved my Golem, 11 auto. I used to use Aramintha instead of him, and he's just so much better for her than for her in Golem 11. And yeah, he's really really good at Golem 11. And that's all I'm really gonna say about him. I think he kind of sucks for PvP. I'm just gonna be honest. Like it's not really. I know a lot of people don't use him in PvP, but some people would probably like to. But I just don't see it. I think there's other units you can use that are better. Like he has a pretty godly kit for killing bosses. I think that's what he's meant to do. He's basically a free Golem 11 auto. And I know you can't really get units like Dizzy or Soul anymore. So if you have them, you obviously use them. And honestly, most of you watching like probably know better about Soul than me, because I only use him for Golem 11, and like he's good at that. So, I mean, for PvE, the artifact is Daydream, and, like, for the set, it really doesn't even matter. Like, just get him kind of fast and, like, crit damage for the max HP proportionate damage to benefit off of that. Okay, moving on. Cermia or Cermia. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyways, unit review. Okay, so as you can see, like mine is not skilled up at all. And oh, I guess well, yeah, you could already see that, but you can see more clearly now she's not. And it's really just because like I haven't had the time, like, or I haven't really had the spare molas to use on her, basically. But eventually I will. But obviously, like, she's really just a single target nuker with like ignoring defense that can do. She can function in a lot of teams and pretty much nuke any like non-ice hero, right? Um, I think I don't know. I will, interestingly enough, for like anyone who doesn't know, you can compare her to Watcher Schuri, who basically has a really similar kit. I mean, I think you could argue is maybe a little better or a little worse depending on the scenario. But he has 100% defense penetration. But I think what sets him apart from Cermia is that his stats for a nuker are like really bad. Like he has 970 attack. That's terrible. Um, okay speed. I think it's like that's Cermia's speed too, and then HP defense, whatever. He's a single target nuker, and he has 970 attack. That's really bad. But I mean, he's light element, so you can basically like potentially use him anywhere if you have good enough gear. Now, like Cermia, on the other hand, yeah, she's fire, and there's like a lot of ice heroes in the meta now, and you can't really use her against ice. At least I don't think you can. But she has, like, look at her attack stat. That's the second highest base attack in the game, tied with ML Ken and Tenebria, with a 1359. That's really, really good. And that's going to make scaling from gears, like attack percent gears, so much nicer. So you're going to get so much more benefit from that than using Watcher Schuri. But both of them I think are good. I don't really know which one's better. I'm just going to be honest. Obviously, being light lets Watcher Schuri become usable in a wider variety of scenarios, but I think Cermia is still really good. I'm going to build her someday. But, okay, back to the... Oh, there was like a friendship thing there. Back to the unit review, where we're on. Okay, Diene, unit review. Well, as you can see, mine doesn't really have any gear. And, I mean, it's for a reason, honestly. Like, I just don't use her. I don't have any teams that would need her. I used to use her a lot, but I don't use her anymore for anything. I can't think of a team where I'd be like, oh, I really need Diene. Now, I will say that's mostly because I don't have Fire Ken. I don't have Carmen build. I don't have Ruel. I don't have like a lot of the meta really tank teams like Assassin Cartua. I don't have any of that. The like meta tank teams where I think she is still really good for the crit chance reduction. I just don't have any of those units. I don't use them because I don't have them. And so, kind of as a consequence, like, I don't really use Diene anymore either. But maybe I'll use her again someday. She's kind of just, like, fallen out for me. But I think she's still good with the right team. Okay, Bellona, unit review. Obviously, Bellona's, like, really, really good. But I don't feel like I need to go too much into that, as she's like one of the most hyped units in the game right now, especially for PvE. I think a lot of people just say she's like the best PvE unit in the game, which is honestly kind of hard to argue with, just due to like how her kit works, spamming AoE defense break and the max HP scaling on skill 1. But I mean, she's really, really good. I don't use her in arena as much, and a lot of people like to, or they do. But that's mostly because I use Tenebria as my AoE death break, which I'll get into in a minute, as you can see. But I use Bellona for Golem 11. I've used her in Abyss. You can also use her in Banshee 11. I just haven't got to like seriously farming that yet. but she is very good. How would you like build her or whatever? Really, like, a lot of people use Rosa Hargana, which is really good for her to proc dual strike and then spam her skill 3 off of that. I just use Daydream Joker because it's easier in Golem 11 auto for me, like, when I want to farm that. And she's really geared only for Golem 11 right now. Like, if you notice, she's on health, which is like, whatever, but it's just so it's so she doesn't die, and it's actually like a 100% or near 100% Golem 11 auto. But just get her fast, get her high effectiveness. She already has really good base speed, so it's really easy to do. I think it's like 116 or something. I think it's maybe even more than that. I don't know. But yeah, she has really good base stats for like a PvE support unit. And she's just really good, which a lot of you already know. Alright, so moving on. Okay, Tenebria unit review. Alright, so like, waifus aside here, like, I honestly just think Tenebria is really, really good for turn 1 PvP cleave, and in Guild Wars for the same like turn 1 cleave type of team. And I don't know, I feel like I have to go into this one a little more, because I feel like people don't really realize how good she is, because why she's good isn't really like explicitly stated. Because an example is like, so her skill 3 does 75% defense break, right? And so you're like, oh, well, Bellona does 80, and then if it procs off skill 1 spam, it's 100, and Tywin does 100, and, and whatever. Like, so the other units have higher than 75%. But here's one reason why I really like Tenebria, is because, okay, it basically boils down to the fact that because she does so much damage, not strictly just because of the gear, because she has the second highest base attack stat in the game and the highest multiplier of any AoE skill 3, tied with ML Mercedes, that all of her utility is not tied into landing the defense break. 75% of the time she does, and it's like almost overkill. And she doesn't land it like a lot of the time as well. I don't know the exact percent, but she doesn't land it a fair amount, and I still win because she's using Togahill's book. She's soul burning her own skill, and then she's soul burning Vildred's skill 3 right afterwards, which is just so much damage. She's probably going to land Death Break anyway, but if she doesn't, she's not totally, like, she's still good. She's still done a lot of damage soul burning her skill 3. Whereas, like, Tywin, he has a 100% chance to land the break, barring effect resist or whatever, but his multipliers are not good. Balances on, multipliers are not good. If he doesn't land the defense break, it's almost like, why did you even bring him in a cleave setting, in a PvP cleave setting? Or Bellona, like, her multipliers aren't as good either. Her attack stat isn't as good for, just in general, just when talking about the character, but specifically for a turn 1 cleave to clear your arena list fastly and furiously. Tenebria is so good for that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could just go on and on, but I use her in almost every PvP arena fight. I use her in almost every Guild War, because she carries my Togahills, and she does insane damage. It's very good. Not every character you can reach 4,000 attack with and still have 165 speed, but Tenebria's attack is just her base attack is, like I said, second highest in the game. But yeah, I feel like I could just go on and on, but she's really good. Don't underestimate her. For if you want to run PvP cleaves, she's your unit. And as you can see, I also use her in Golem 11 auto with Togahill's book, which is even crazier because it's actually completely useless in the entire auto as an artifact. Okay, moving on. All right, Aramintha unit review. Gosh, like, okay, so Aramintha was my first, like, 5-star unit, so she holds a special place in my heart. But I mean, and I'm sorry for like everyone who really likes Aramintha right now, but she's not good anymore, guys. Like she's just not. And it's really sad for me too because I like Aramintha. Like Aramintha, like talk about waifu, come on. Like she's aesthetically, like, man, she looks good. But God, her kit though is just it's so outclassed. Like, so before Hunt's 11, like she was good in Wyvern 10 and Golem 10, okay. But this was also before Soul and Dizzy and like all the new units and buffs and nerfs and whatever. But she didn't get any buffs or nerfs to her original kit, and it's just so lackluster right now. Like, it's not good. It's not good at all. And I mean, I was using her in Golem 11 like a few weeks ago before I built Soul, and it worked, but it was like a 3-minute auto, really slow. And she's just outclassed, even for Hunt 11. And, look at her kit. Of course you can't use her in PvP. With the cleansing, with the water meta, like, with a 20 soul burn, which, like, what does it do? It only it ignores effect resistance. It's just, it's not, her kit's not good. And I hope she gets a buff, I really do. But right now, she's not good, and I'm sorry, guys, but maybe someday she will be again. Okay, Vildred unit review. All right, like, I feel like I don't have to. So I feel like Vildred, most people know he's like really good by now, and I mean, a lot of the hype was kind of originally stolen from him by like Says and Haste and stuff, which obviously now I've just like totally. I mean, Haste has fallen off. Says it is still good, but I think Says always got more hype than Vildred as like a thief for cleave, for PvP cleave, as a thief that does damage, like DPS as most thieves are. And I don't think that was deserved because Vildred is just as good, if not better, than Says in today's current meta. I think he's better. He has speed imprint, AoE cleave hero with speed imprint. Thief, and his multipliers are great. This scales off of his speed and his attack. His base stats are really good. He can use Elia's Knife. He can use Wind Rider. He can use a lot of the really good thief artifacts. And mine is just, he's so good right now. He's so fun to use. I use him in PvP, Arena, in almost every guild war with speed imprint. With the team is Tenebria, Vildred, and Schuri. And Tenebria buffs both of them, Schuri buffs both of them with speed imprint in the back. And yeah, he's really, really good. Definitely build him if you have him. He's good in Banshee 2, Banshee 11. There's not much else to say about him, but you can run him on attack set as well, I'll say that. But I mean, it just depends on what gear you have and what you farm. Okay, Kise unit review. Like, alright, so I wish Kise wasn't, or Kise, I don't know how to say it. Kise, I'm gonna go with Kise. That's how I usually say it. I wish she wasn't so good at Wyvern, but unfortunately she is. But because she is, I can't really build her for like PvP with some other artifact that's not Daydream Joker, because she has to be used for Wyvern. And she's so good at Wyvern. If you haven't already seen the Wyvern 11 burst auto, it's like, I can do it in under 2 minutes sometimes, like 1:40, bursting it with Kise. Before a single barrier. So she's really good for Wyvern. And honestly, I do use her in PvP sometimes too. Like, for example, if in Guild Wars, not in Arena, but in Guild Wars, like if I get unlucky and one of my units dies, like I'll throw her in instead. Like usually it's Rose or something that'll die, and I throw her in. And she's very competent. She's very capable to do PvP, even with Daydream Joker, and she'd be way better without. But this is kind of like the stats that you would want for a Wyvern 11 type of Kise. This is what I've been using, and I've farmed Wyvern 11 for a while with her, and it is 100% success. Okay, and then specifically like Angelica as well for a unit review. These are also the stats for Wyvern 11 Angelica, and I do also use her in Guild Wars as well. Pretty much every Guild War, and that's why she has Idol's Cheer, because I use her with Tenebria and Rose or Dizzy. Sorry to clarify, ML Tenebria and Rose or Dizzy, not Fire. Um, and yeah, the Idol's Cheer is very helpful in Guild Wars. It's not the best artifact for Wyvern 10 because it will mess up the order of like your defense breaker and your DPS. But if you use like Clarissa or Luna or someone that does 2-turn defense break, it doesn't really matter, but it will fuck it up if you use like Terranor Guard. But yeah, people have obviously, like, you all know how good Angelica is. Like, we've known it from the start. People have re-rolled, made like 15 accounts to try to get her. And she's not even a 5-star. She's so good. You use her in raids, use her in Hunt 11. It's everything. People even use her in Golem 11, and she's the wrong element. Like, she's so good. Okay, Schuri. Unit review. I don't know. See, Schuri's like a funny one to talk about because mine has had SSS imprint for a while, so that obviously makes him so much better to like give the 2 in the back 14 speed. But I think he's still really good. He's a really good like to get first turn as a combat readiness booster. But with the advent of like new units in the meta, SC Ruzid, like Judge Kise is getting a buff. Like Judith has higher base speed than him. SC Ruzid has higher base speed than him. The only combat readiness pusher that like he has higher base speed or the same is like Shadow Rose, and she's kind of falling off lately as well from the meta. But his base speed is 110, which is like average for a combat readiness pusher. Probably a little below average, really. I think the average now with like ML Ball and Dizzy and Judge Kai's and Judith is like 115 or like maybe 114 if it would you're actually to take the average, but I don't know. But he's still really good. You can use him in like raids too, but I use him in pretty much every Guild War with the classic team that I went over earlier, which is Schuri, Vildred, Tenebria, mostly for the imprints and to get first turn. But you can use someone else as a combat readiness pusher, and it'll probably be just as good. And like Rosa Hargana for the artifacts, so we can proc dual strike and boost the combat readiness of everyone. All right, moving on. Rose unit review. I like Rose a lot. But yeah, she's a really good. She's a good, like, how would I describe her? Combat readiness baton passer. That's how I would describe her, because her base speed is so low that she's never gonna get you like first turn herself, unless you're fighting like all tank team, and like even then one of them might be around 190. Probably not. She's probably safe to get you first turn if you're fighting all tanks and like for sure. But she's a good combat ready. She always goes second in all of my comps. Like she goes second. Unless like the Guild Wars comp, if it's Rose, ML Tenebria, Angelica. Sometimes you can just not get first turn with that team and tank and just wait and recover and you're good. But yeah, how you build her basically like this. She's like Swift broken now just because like this was the only defense one I could get. It's not very good. But yeah, she's really good. Definitely, I would definitely build her if you don't have like a unit that's like a combat readiness baton passer type thing. Okay, Church Axe unit review. What do I have to say about him? Not much, actually, other than mine is like really bad. I'm still working on him, but I just don't really know. Like, I know he's really good. Like, I've seen people that have ones that are good. I think they need to be more mole invested than mine. As you can see, only +5 on the skill 3. And I used him a lot in Abyss just to land defense break, like, for 100%. That was his only job. And, like, he did that fine, but, like, a bunch of other units can do that too. So, I don't really want to give him, like, a surefire, like, you need to build or build like this, because I clearly am still experimenting with mine. But I think he's really good, especially with his skill tree. He has a lot of potential to be kind of like that bruiser unit that can take a huge hit, and then if you give him like Sigurd Scythe or something, like, or Duranda, whatever, if you give him that, like, his attack is going to get high from his health being lower, or he's going to get a bunch of combat readiness from being attacked, and he's going to like strike back at you full force, kind of like your traditional bruiser would. So I definitely think he's good, and he's a 3-star unit, so he's easy to awaken and skill up or whatever. So okay, Doris, like, unit review, by the way, almost forgot. Well, I built her specifically for Golem 11, and she's good at that because she offsets the defense break that he does to everyone. And she does continuous heal, which is really nice. Like, I tried using a Chates over her, and a Chates was so much worse. So if you're wanting another, like, non-Angelica Soulweaver, non-Ice for Golem 11, don't go with the Chates, because the Chates is, like, really bad. But Doris is pretty good for Golem 11. Her gear isn't even that good either. Like, this should be a 40 speed, and then she'd be even faster. Which would make it probably not a huge effect, but it'd make the fights look like they're a lot less, like, close to losing the auto than they are. But they really don't. They really don't lose, like, in my experience, very often at all. But yeah, she's a light Soul Weaver with terrible base speed, but like good HP and defense, who's good for Golem 11. And you could use her in raids too. Like if you're doing Jubilee in raids, double healer's nice. Oh, and I guess another thing to note about her is that, like, her healing isn't, like, from her max health, so she can be successful as a healer without having high max health, which is interesting, like, to think about and consider, like, when you're building her. Okay, these next ones I'm going to go over, like, pretty quickly, because, like, these are mostly units that I've either had for a while and never built, or, like, just got and I'm trying right now, like, ML Ken. And obviously ML Ken's really good. Like, if anyone has him in comments or in chat or whatever, like, they're talking about him. They know that he's good. A lot of people really want him. I just pulled mine and just 6-starred him, like, yesterday. And so we're going to try him out. I think, like, I know he does AoE defense break, like, oh, it's another one, like, I already have Bellona and Tenebria, but I think that's really, like, not the reason to use him. Like, to use him, like, he's really, in effect, like, a bruiser. He's a bruiser unit that wants to take a hit, kind of like Chaos Axe, and then come back at you full force. Because if you actually consider the multipliers on his skill 3 for just doing AoE damage, like, it's not very high. It's actually, I think it's the lowest multiplier for, like, AoE defense break out of any of the people that do AoE defense break. Maybe Tywin's is, like, a little lower, but Bellona's is higher, and I'm talking about the attack scaling, which is the only relevant scaling in all of them except for Tywin's. So yeah, he's supposed to be a bruiser and take a hit, and he's, like, perfect for Sigurd Scythe. Yeah, I think he's really good, and I will make another video to update, like, later on about him when I fully build him. I don't think it's fair for me to talk about him now because I haven't had a whole lot of experience using him. But okay, Zeno, like, I've never even tried to use him. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I think he's actually, like, not bad. I never see Zenos, but I don't know. I just don't really care enough right now to build Zeno. And I was too weak when he came out to like farm him to SSS. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it comes around again and, like, we all can get it SSS, or anyone who forgot. Okay, Luna, I guess this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but, like, I don't know. I got Luna and I used her for defense break and Wyvern, and I realized, like, Terranor Guard was better, like, for a defense break. And I mean, damage as well, with, like, Daydream Joker. Anyone could do that. And, I don't know. I think Luna's obviously, like, she's a good single target nuke. I think there's better than her. But I just don't think she's like the best at Wyvern. I think if you're doing like a 2-man or like 2 or 3-man when running a fodder, Luna could get better. Like if you have nuts gear on her, but like a lot of heroes with nuts gear are like really good. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never have problems fighting Luna. I'll say that. And I realize that she's not the best for me to use in Wyvern 11, so she just doesn't have any gear. Says like I just pulled recently, and I haven't had time to like really go into him yet. But I know he's really good for like PvP cleave, and I will build him eventually. Not much else to say. Like C Dami, she's really good. She's one of the best, if not the best, like single target nuker in the game, like especially as a 4-star. But she's just so similar to like ML Tenebria. I know they're different in like the comps that you run with them, because C-Dom you would want like Celeste and Bellona, some AoE. Someone who's AoE and crits like buff her combat readiness, then she buffs everyone else's. But like as far as just being a dark single target nuker, like she's so similar to Spectre Tenebria in that way. And I think they're like pretty close to as good as each other, so I just haven't built mine yet. But of course eventually I will, just because of like how good she is. Okay, and then this is the last like really important one. And this is the last one I think I'm gonna go over, honestly. Is Clarissa, because she is really good in Wyvern 11. Like the 50% chance to land 2-turn defense break, so good. And yeah, I have a really high effectiveness for this build. Is specifically for Wyvern 11. 185 speed to go before Kise, so that they don't, and so the Wyvern doesn't lap them completely. 100 effectiveness. I honestly wish I could get this even higher, because it still sometimes says resist. And then just like whatever attack, but high crit damage, because that helps the max HP scaling. And then yeah, high crit damage, high speed, and then high crit rate, and that's pretty much it for her with Daydream Joker. And just skill up her skill 1 to +4. Alright, yeah, honestly, this was a long video to do. I hope it wasn't just like me totally like just saying random shit, and some of it I like hope was useful, especially if you guys have some of these units, and I know you do. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll try to like put timestamps on like which unit I'm going over in the description, so you don't have to watch through the whole thing. But thanks a lot if you did watch the whole thing, and I'll see you in the next video.